So let's look at the culture of osteopathy because we want to start treating the lungs, the vascular organs, the capillaries. And there's a few things we have to note in our culture over the last 130 years. And because we want to cover all the way from the lungs, basically, to the blood, into the cell, and then into the cellular breathing, because that's the whole biological rhythm we are treating when we're treating also vascular organs and the lungs. And yeah, this is a photo of Margareteninsel in Budapest. It's a nice island in the middle of the Danube, and it's all surrounded by water. So you can look at it as a cell, like in the blood, or the lungs surrounded by water. So it's something you want to kind of get to, yeah? But it's the only way to get to is usually through the water, or you build bridges. So there's a lot of bridges in Budapest. So let's dive into it. So these are the lungs, yeah. So there are the lungs, there's the blood vessels, and there's the airways. So there are two parts. And when we talk about the lungs, we have everything is there: blood, air, membranes, alveoli. So the question is then, so how is the normal activity of the lung regulated? Where is the disease process, in which part, and how do we intervene? Yeah? So if there's a problem or a dysfunction or a disease, so on which level can we intervene? That's the kind of the lung asking us this question. And the typical answers of osteopathy, it's like building a bridge into the lung. Yeah? So it's a good image. Yeah? We need to build bridges. But some of the answers are not holding up in the light of physiology. So if we say increase flow to create health, yeah, sometimes you want to increase flow, sometimes not. Yeah? You increase circulation to nourish the cells, that's true, but what if there's flooding? Yeah? So if it's too much, you want to ventilate to oxygenize the blood. But then you learn in physiology that actually ventilation is not a guarantee for oxygenation. So these are very interesting answers in osteopathy, and they might be true in some cases, but in general, they're actually not holding up if you look at physiology. So over the last 130 years, usually osteopathy would argue that we treat connective tissue. Yeah, so it's a connective tissue paradigm. Let it be fascia or let it be the interstitial space. And in that space, there's blood vessels and their nerves. So usually osteopaths would argue that this is where we work, in the connective tissue, in the interstitial space, and we're working on the nervous system and on the blood vessels. And the nervous system that ends there is usually the autonomous nervous system, the vagus and the sympathetic nerves are ending in the connective tissue. So our job then would be to take out obstacles to the flow in the connective tissue in the blood. So we like to think about ourselves as people who help the flow, help the stream, and take out obstacles. But of course, the question then is also, what about mainstreaming? Yeah, what if what we think is basically a mainstreaming activity, but it's not actually what the body needs? And this is, of course, what happened in 2020. There was a strong wind, and that wind nearly blew us away. And we can also look at what happened in 2020 and afterwards as basically the 100 years culture of osteopathy not holding up. So it basically, our own culture came to haunt us because we were not prepared for the winds that came about in 2020. So asking the same question now for the lung. Yeah. So in 2020, there was a lot of talk about ventilating the lung. So what is our approach to it? Yes. How do you ventilate a sick lung? How do you ventilate a healthy lung? So you can blow air into the lungs. Yeah? What good does it do? And you can also blow out the lights in someone if you over-exaggerate ventilation. And the paradigm of osteopathy, it's the question we gave is usually working with the autonomous nerves. But what kind of autonomy are we talking about? Is it only vagus and sympathetic system? Because they are actually not autonomous. and the real autonomy lies in the enteric nervous system or in the pacemaker cells of the heart and of the gut. Yeah. And autoregulation of exchange, yeah, that's also a major topic. And so, what is our view of autoregulation of the exchange process? And what about membranes? Are we also talking about membranes, or are we only interested in the interstitial space? Because the regulation along the membranes in the body is very different. It's actually real autoregulation. It's not autonomy of the nervous system. There's a real local auto-regulation of the exchange along the membranes. Yeah? Think about the alveoli, think about the capillary system, yeah? All the membranes, even the cell membranes. Yeah? There's an auto-regulation of exchange mechanisms along these membranes. Is that something we also have to deal with in osteopathy, or are we just dealing with the interstitial spaces? That's kind of the question we have to ask ourselves. And